The Shark Deck.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I'm pretty open about this, so I tracked the stats on the podcast. Do you know what episode did really well last week? The one I titled Tim Dillon and Bert Kreischer, something, Joe Rogan, lazy. Name dropped in that one. You got to do that. Then later in the week, I did one with Dave Bird in the title. Didn't do as well. So, hey, guess what, guys? Tim Dillon and Bert Kreischer had a conversation about Bert being one of the biggest arena comics in the world. Tim was like, you're what, number 3, number 4? Bert said 4. Tim, who were the first? Bert, Sebastian, Fluffy, and Jo Koy. Fluffy meaning Gabriel Iglesias. Bert said, I'm going after Jo Koy. He is the nation of the Philippines, the whole nation. If I could just isolate a minority to fall in love with me, yeah, we're going head to head. The Smartless guys are taking their podcast on the road. Smartless, another thing to drop in your podcast title for SEO in case you're playing at home. Yes, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett are taking their podcast on the road. I don't love their podcast. Am I allowed to say that out loud or will I be shunned from the entertainment industry? I really don't think it's that good. They're pretty famous. I get it. They could quiz, but when I actually listen, I don't think it's actually that good. The trio will have their journey documented for HBO Max as they share the experience and their friendship. What's it called? Smartless, on the road. If you've never listened to Smartless, well, each episode features a mystery guest that one of the hosts know about and the other two did not. Once the mystery guest makes himself known, the three interview them in their own comedic way. The show is described as a podcast that connects and unites people from all walks of life to learn about shared experiences through thoughtful dialogue and organic hilarity. People magazine talked to Dana Gottfried. She was looking back on husband Gilbert Gottfried. It was the 1-year anniversary of Gilbert's passing. Dana said, before I reflect, I want to take a moment to thank my incredible friends, family, the Gilbert podcast community, and Gilbert's fans for all their support. You guys carried me. I'd also like to give a special thanks to the most brilliant magician and my superhuman friend, Penn Jillette, who texted and asked how I was doing every single day, all caps, since Gilbert passed. He did not miss one day. Thank you. Dana told the story. It was February 26, 1997. I had just turned 27. Gilbert was turning 42. We met at a Grammy party at the Tavern on the Green. I was there because I worked in the music business. He was there for free food. I accidentally dropped food off my plate. He picked it up and put it on his plate. I thought it was a bit odd, but I guess I've always been attracted to a bit odd. He looked incredibly sweet and a little lost. I felt sorry for him, so I was nice. He asked for my phone number. The rest was history. I don't know how to explain the uniqueness of our relationship. I was young, outgoing, and social. Gilbert was shy and introverted. Time out. I love when people talk about off-air or behind-the-scenes Gilbert. He was not his public persona at all. A very introverted, quiet-spoken man. He was not the that you know from his public. He'd be like, hi, very nice to meet you. Anyway, she said Gilbert was shy and introverted. We were opposites, but like two pieces of a puzzle. We fit together perfectly. For the next 10 years, we dated. He'd come over to my house every night to watch TV, since I actually paid for cable. We were in love. Gilbert used to say he was like a McDonald's Happy Meal. You can't replace the French fries for onion rings. He knew who he was and he wasn't going to change. I told him I would never want him to change. I embraced who he was. Eventually, he took the plunge and trusted me. We decided to move in together and start a family. While packing, I asked Gilbert to try and get rid of some of his hotel soaps since they filled up the entire second bedroom of his apartment. Yeah, Gilbert apparently would take every soap home from every hotel. He asked his sisters if they needed any soap, and they said, only big bars. Gilbert, being Gilbert, stayed up all night opening the little wrappers, running the soaps under the water in the sink, mashing them together to make big bars. The next day, he delivered a garbage bag full of custom-made big bars of soap. I thought it was so sweet. I couldn't help but love him. Great stories there. Vulture pointed out that 2 recent stand-up specials, those being Chris Rock's and Kyle Kinane's, both talked about filthy pillowcases. In Chris Rock's, he said, you don't even realize all the amazing little things a woman does for you until you don't have one. The other night, I'm trying to get some sleep. Couldn't sleep. Suddenly it dawned on me, I was like, this pillowcase is filthy. Are we supposed to change these? Kyle Kinane's joke, if you're a single man in here, leave now. Go buy new pillows. I unsheathed what I assumed to be a pillow one day in the daylight, and what I extracted from that pillowcase, it had the same texture and patina as a Wild West wanted poster. It was gold and slick. The edges were crumbly and curled. One side was burnt. How did that even happen? It looked like a map to the new world. That's what it looked like. Whatever fluids come out of my face at night, the liquid had expanded and created rudimentary coastlines of the Americas over here. You could tell this is how they went from the Mediterranean to here. Vulture says the differences in these bits speak to the comedian's contrasting sensibilities. Chris Rock uses brevity to sell his material, while Kyle Kinane achieves the same results with extended soliloquies. Rock takes great pains to appear in control. Kinane deliberately engineers chaos. ArizonaBigMedia.com caught up with Jim Breuer. Let me see if I can get my half-assed Breuer impression. Actually, back in the day when I worked with Jim at SiriusXM, I could do a really good Jim. I would write a lot of copy for Jim, so I really knew how to capture his voice, and then you're around him enough, and I could capture it. So the way I always get into this, and I'm doing this for real in real time here, the first time I met Jim, somebody had said, hey, do you want to take a meeting with Jim Breuer? And, it was Jim... And I think Jim would open this. If you listed everybody on Saturday Night Live, Jim's not in the top 10. But it was like, sure. So I had a meeting with Jim, and he pitched his radio show. And he goes, all right, it's I can already tell I've got my good Jim today. All right, so the show, it's me, my friend Pete. Pete was Pete Correale. And we tell stories. So I sat there with Jim for like an hour, and he might have been high. You can ask him. And I wasn't really sure what I was pitching because I would have had to go back to my boss and said, hey, Jim Breuer, yeah, he was on SNL. He's like the 114th best guy that was ever on. Anyway, he wants to do a show where he tells stories with his friend Pete. And again, this is 15 years ago, maybe more at this point. Nobody knows who Pete Correale is at that point. So I can't walk back there and be like, yes, Jim Breuer and Pete tell stories. So I asked Jim to do a demo. The demo he did was the best demo I ever got in my entire radio career. I took a CD of it. You remember CDs? That's how old the story is. I left it on my boss's chair with no note. So knowing my boss, he played the CD. That pilot sold itself. Greatest demo I've ever heard. Jim talked about his current show. And he said, it's a lot of family stuff. It's a little bit of current events. I've got my good Jim today. It's a lot of family stuff. It's a little bit of current events. It usually hits whatever's going on the first 10, 15 minutes. And from there, everyone can relate to. I don't curse on stage. I don't swear. It's helping that I've recorded 3 straight podcasts. I'm a little gravelly anyway. I like that people can bring teenagers and those 12 and over. Jim explains back in 2008, he made the decision to keep his comedy clean, in part because he had kids. He said a woman approached him and said, oh, you're the guy from TV and stuff. You're really blue when you're live, right? You're like really dirty. You're the drug guy. Jim said, and I went, what? Made me mad. It also made me realize if she thinks that way, who else thinks that way? Why do they think that way? If you grew up watching Saturday Night Live or Half-Baked, you just know a screen persona. You don't know the son, the father, husband, the married moral faith guy. Jim's kids, they're grown now. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. Jim's kids are a little older than mine. Yeah, they're not little kids anymore. They are a constant source of materials for his routines. Jim said, never ends. As long as they're in the house, even after, I'll never run out of material. I will never run out of material being married. Jim says he has left TV and movies in his rearview mirror. I'll jump in. Yeah, he was like over show business when I was working with him. He just wanted to be a family guy. He's a good guy. Jim said, I left that world back in 2000. I didn't want to be in that world anymore. I wanted to be in a world where I could control my destiny with stand-up. Starting to put out what I want to put out and have a desire for that grind. I'm not a big fan of that world. There's not a lot of good morals that go along in that industry. Jim Breuer is at Farnsworth Hall Friday and Harold's Cave Creek Corral. Those are somewhere in Arizona. Why don't you go on jimbreuer.com and figure out where.
Trying to grab all the groceries in one trip? Oof, not how you would have done that. You know sometimes less is more. Like when you drive less and save with the USAA annual mileage discount. USAA. Get a quote today.
All right, I'm going to be in trouble with Kara Wood again. Kara, man, you know Kara. She has the power of the streak. Look, I was doing great last week. I ran Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I played volleyball Wednesday night. At the volleyball game, I'm not doing a bit here. 4 balls in, my buddy crashed into my other buddy, and first buddy broke his leg. We're not as young as we used to be. And then when I got home, my knee was throbbing a little, and I said, all right, I'm taking Thursday off. And then Friday, it was a summer Friday in April. It was 86 degrees, so I didn't run on Friday either, Kara, but I had a really good streak going, and I've been eating salads, so leave me alone, will you? Kara Wood, she wrote The Power of the Streak. It's an easy-to-read book, and if you struggle with working out regularly and you have excuses like, oh, my friend broke your leg or it was nice out, that kind of stuff, and you need to start exercising, you need to check out the book. You see, Kara had no motivation for years. And then she started a streak of 12 years. I get 4 days in and I'm like, hey, look at me. I work out all the time. 12 years. She had a career, 2 kids. She's got the secret to having the drive to exercise no matter what. So you can't be like, oh, but it was 86 and it was a Friday and I had pre-recorded Monday's podcast on Thursday afternoon so I could just goof off Friday. You can't do that. You got to do it. Kara's story is funny, relatable, and inspiring. She'll give you a step-by-step guide of how you can do the same thing with any exercise. It does not have to be running. It's The Power of the Streak by Kara Wood, available in all formats, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's an audiobook on iTunes, Audible. Check her out on the socials, Insta is at The Power of the Streak. Twitter at Power of Streak. Kara's also got her free newsletter if you want to check that out. That one is called Knock It Off. It's about life, motherhood, and all things in between. You can go to Substack and sign up for free. knockitoff.substack.com. I'll save the trouble. All this is in the show notes. Kara, thank you for supporting today's Daily Comedy News. I actually wish I had more Jim Breuer stuff since I have the Jim voice down today. Jim, can you tell us who's at Moon Tower tonight? Nothing. Nada. Not a show. Monday. Dark. All right, Jim, who's at Nashville? Kid Rock. Kid Rock's Comedy Jam. Yeah, good luck with that. Kid Rock's Comedy Jam, Ryman Auditorium, 7 o'clock. Yeah, but hold on, Jim. Who's on the show? I mean, I get that you don't want to see Kid Rock, but who's performing? It's Donnell, Shane Gillis, Big J, Chris Porter, Eleanor Kerrigan, and whoever Chance Willie is. That's actually a good show, Jim. 7 o'clock, Leslie Jones. Maybe we'll go over and talk about Lorne. Matt Rife at 9:30. All right, Jim, do you want to do Melbourne? No, can't you hear we're losing the impression? Stop, get out on top. All right, that's good advice. Who's in Melbourne today? Andrew Silverwood's show is called I Really, Really Want a Zigga Zigga and a Nap. Fourth Wall gave it 5 stars, said a stone cold legend. Weekend Notes, 4.5 stars, said one to watch out for. The Adelaide Advertiser, 4 stars, a must-see explosively quick wit. All right, that's high praise there. Let's listen.
I really should have finished my last show and gone home sober, but I popped a Dexy, had a beer, had no dinner, and had just enough acid to think that this chair with grass on is real nice. I really shouldn't be finishing my Fringe at a really done up version of The House from Friends. This is quite... I love this space. It's delightful. Where I come from, we tend to take Christmas decorations down by March, but no, not in Adelaide. Oh Lord, it's a risk for me. It's a real risk for you because you're about to close out a show with a guy who looks a little bit like a Disney Pixar character went out to rescue Buzz Lightyear and got lost at a Mardi Gras.
All right, that's Andrew Silverwood. Let's do one more. Jess Perkins is almost sold out, it said. Quote, low avails. Jess Perkins was a weird teenager, not the kind of weird where former classmates would appear on the news and say, yeah, I think I always knew she'd start a cult. She was just a little different. She watched Dora the Explorer too far into her teens. Let's listen.
Stand-up comedy obviously is a very fun job, a very stupid job, but I think it's also very important to use these times when you do get to stand in front of an audience or on TV to spread a message and to educate, and that's what I would like to do tonight, if you'll indulge me. I found a list online that I think we can all really learn from, and this list is entitled 44 Basic Things Women Want That Really Aren't Too Much to Ask For. Good of them to narrow it down just to a tight top 44. So let's go on a learning journey together. It starts off with someone that holds open doors for her and walks her to her front stoop after a date. Anyone in the audience tonight got a stoop? Any stoops up the back? No. Okay, we're all going to die alone. Right. Someone that kisses her with the same passion after 3 years of dating as he did after 3 days of dating. Relationships don't last 3 years. Silly.
All right, I think the material's there. I think the pacing is off. I think she could move a little more quickly. But again, I'm in my basement doing a half-assed Jim Breuer impression, so what do I know? Jim, why don't you take us home? All right, that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. Johnny Mac. We'll see you tomorrow. Can I interest you in some meatballs made out of mammoth meat? No? All right, hi, I'm Johnny Mac, host of 5 Good News Stories. It's a twice-a-week podcast where I share some upbeat stories like the dog who only will respond to commands if you use an Irish brogue. Or what about the guy who's filling potholes with noodles? Or the woman who, congratulations, she passed her driver's license. Oh, by the way, it was her 960th try. You heard me correctly. It's 5 Good News Stories. Nice, easy way to start your morning. 5 Good News Stories. The number 5 Good News Stories, wherever you get your podcasts.